Currently, Coutard has been playing AP, has a lot of experience as an AD carry just in solo queue, but playing AP for these Dreamhack qualifiers has played quite a bit of Annie, some Anivia, and Ari. So, if my, I don't know, intuition is correct, we're going to see an AP carry starting with an A.
Well, that sounds
played by Coutard.
That's pretty interesting.
That would be my guess, yes.
They could then potentially ban Arya, Kali, and Annie, although it would leave Anivia. So there'll always be one AP with an A. Damn, I forgot about that. So look at the ban so far. Ari, Morgana, Alistar. Nautilus
Or
as
A
well.
champions.
Well, that's good, considering how well Cyanide did in the previous game as Nautilus. I think that's an understandable ban.
And just a good general ban. Nautilus, a little bit overpowered right now. I already mentioned my whole Zyphorus scheme, my conspiracy. Zyphorus purposely releases overpowered champions so they get a lot of attention. Nautilus, no exception to that rule. Really strong, obviously played in jungle competitively, but can go AP mid, can go top. And the thing is he can compete in both of those lanes while building GP10 items. And we do see an Annie ban that is probably targeted at Coutard. Coutard played Annie in the last 2 games. Annie, of course, got some buffs in the last patch, pretty popular. But all these bans allow for a first pick Shen, which Fnatic should be pretty excited about.
Yeah, it is going to give them the split pushing possibilities. We've seen this last night as well. Lamia, we know he likes Ashe. We know he's very good with Ashe. And last night, Absolute Legends, after the first pick was done, they also locked in Ashe just to take that away from Lamia. So we know he's going to have to look for a different carry. And Twisted Fate is available as well. So I wonder if we're going to see potentially Shen in the jungle, maybe with Cyanide. Twisted Fate in the middle from XPK. It's a possibility, and the global presence would be scary.
That would be terrifying. And of course, we've already seen XPK play a incredible TF in the course of these qualifiers. I would love to see that again.
We're going to have to see who is going to be locked in. So sitting on Graves and Sona at the moment, and that's quite interesting because you don't see Sona very often. Was a very, very popular, very, very powerful support character maybe 4 months ago, pre-IEM Gamescom, around about IEM Ukraine, Kiev rather. And I haven't seen her again for a very long time.
Well, the thing is, they nerfed her Q damage and her power core damage, so that really took away from her early harass, but then they rebuffed it. And at the same time, they nerfed Janna when they rebuffed Sona. So actually, she does still have favorable trades in lane. That will be a lane that can push around a Janna Ashe lane, provided they don't get poked out too much by volley. They should win that lane. They have a little bit of sustain. They actually have significant amounts of more damage initially. I actually don't. I love Janna, still my favorite champion, but she's not really great in lane because that shield doesn't grant the AD bonus when the shield is broken. Her early game, and all throughout laning phase, her trades are actually below average and kind of is outshone by almost every other support in lane.
Now, how do you think it's going to play then once Lamia and Felox get a couple of levels up on Sona? She's going to be using those different songs, those different dances of hers or whatever, increasing ability power and damage. Will they have enough burst to get through the Eye of the Storm to pick up kills against Janna Ashe in their bot lane?
I believe they'll be able to pick up kills. I mean, obviously a really popular combination is a Taric and Graves to give that little extra AD and AP, the Shatter to take away the armor, but this is an incredible amount of burst in its own right. The Crescendo into a collateral damage, obviously paired with that Buckshot and an Ignite, that does a ton of damage, and I think we've seen this. I think actually we've seen the strategy used against Fnatic quite frequently, where Melison's playing Janna and the opposition picks kind of a burst team to really kill her. Kill Janna, that is, generally who's running, GP10 and is pretty squishy on their own right, and of course doesn't have the CC to protect themselves when they're being, stunned or forced to dance, as could be the effect from Sona. But we do see a really interesting lineup from Fnatic, a lineup I really like, and of course we've seen how strong Galio has been throughout the tournament, but now they have Galio, Crescendo, or Galio Ultimate, Idol Duran, into Crescendo, into collateral damage, into Equalizer. That is just a ton of AoE damage potential.
I do have to throw out the Equalizer is a phenomenal ability, and I love Shusha. He's a great player, and Fnatic's awesome, but he failed with his Equalizer against Absolute Legends on Tuesday.
I was actually watching that.
The positioning was terrible. He tried to use it to farm, missed the creeps. It was pretty bad.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, incidentally, I only smartcast, and so playing as Rumble was essentially not an option for me. Until recently, they've kind of fixed it now, but essentially they just took it off smartcast. So, I mean, Rumble, for a lot of us, we people who only smartcast, was kind of a champion that couldn't be played, despite being one of the, strongest top laners. But as I recall in that game, he was actually losing in lane to, I forget who the matchup was, it was Renekton.
Renekton, correct.
Yeah, it was Renekton. So, yeah, of course, I remember you and I believe Panky were casting saying, oh, Sushi doesn't have a ton of experience with Rumble. But even without experience, Rumble, very, very strong. That team, that lineup, very, very strong. And equalizers are a lot easier to hit when people are, dancing from crescendo and stuck in place from Idol Duran. So we'll keep that in mind.
Very, very true. So we are now into the 3-minute countdown. We're going to see a Talon. I would assume Talon's going to go middle. I can't see a Talon DPSing Rumble, especially with that scrap heap shield and then having the flame spitter up. I can see a Vladimir potentially doing that, but then can the Talon outburst a Galio? This is an interesting pick for me.
I think actually Talon can do really well against Galio. I mean, Galio's great ability is to counter AP middles because he just builds a little bit of magic resist, has some magic resist runes, and suddenly they do no damage. He puts his shield up. But anyone with AD can still really easily outlane him. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if Talon went top against Rumble either. Certainly there's a point where it's unfavorable, but his rake essentially will allow him to jump in there, rake Rumble, and get out without taking too much return harassment. Whereas, on the other hand, I actually think Vladimir against Rumble is not a good matchup for Team Megashock. And, yeah, so I'm uncertain where they're planning on doing this. If I were them, I would have, just Vlad middle and Talon top.
I definitely think if Shusha is able to time his scrap heap shield correctly and land those electro harpoons, especially against Talon, Talon's going to throw out that rake, going to dash towards him. I think it's Noxian Diplomacy is on hit. I forget the name of his silence ability, but he's going to dive. Maybe? There we go. Going to dive forward with that cutthroat. If Shusha can land the electro harpoons as he's escaping, then the shield, the movement buff from his shield as well as Flame Spitter should be able to give him decent damage. But if Talon gets ahead, if Coulthard pulls ahead in the early stages of the game, it's going to be very scary for Shusha. It should be pointed out that Coulthard was playing AP, wasn't he? So we could assume he was the mid player based on the fact that he was playing AP in the previous game. So we're going to have to see how Team Megashock do this one. We're going to have to see what Team Megashock think is going to be the right decision and the right choice for them. Cyanide in the jungle against Goats in the jungle. Shen and Nocturne, both of whom very strong level 6 ganks.
Right, and I feel like Nocturne actually counters Shen just a little bit. Obviously, that darkness is going to make it more difficult to counter gank. A lot of people in chat saying, Nocturne versus Galio, not an ideal matchup. Or not Nocturne, Talon versus Galio, not an ideal matchup. And I agree, it's not ideal, but I think both of those matchups aren't ideal for Talon, but they're both matchups that he can take advantage of. And I really feel like Talon's kind of underplayed. A great assassin-type champion. But assassins generally are not really high competitive picks. But we'll see how it turns out here. I would not be surprised if he goes on a rampage.
Yeah, I'm going to have to keep an eye on it. So, adverts up as per usual, and we'll be back with Fnatic against Team Megashock in 30 seconds. So, adverts are playing in once again. We're going to be looking at the skins. I've just got to remember not to click anywhere, because if you do, it throws your game down to the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you,
oh my goodness, is that what does it?
Yep. I
was wondering.
Don't click, don't poke anything. If you don't touch anything, it'll load 100% fine. But from the second that timer hits 000, don't ask me why. I don't know. Riot just decided to send it to that corner.
Interestingly enough, I'm actually only getting a black screen, so that might be an issue. I'll probably be able to reload afterwards. Let me know when the game is all loaded up.
I sadly have the same problem as well.
Oh dear.
At a blank screen. I'm going to leave it for a few seconds. The client is fantastically fun.
There we go.
So just a bit delayed. So maybe the servers are just a little bit stressed on patch date. 10 p.m. All of Europe is probably playing and queuing up for games.
I have to always tell people when I'm just casting community games over GG Chronicle, we every Wednesday we just invite people to play with us. But it's unusual because when you're watching streams, you're like, why does this keep on messing up? Well, custom games for whatever reason are just a lot more buggy than regular games in general. For instance, I'll never, bug splat or error out of a regular game over the course of 1,000 games, but, every third custom game or so has some sort of, quirk in it.
And it's probably because of the code, because you are, as a user, creating the instanced server. You're defining the parameters. So whatever variables are in play there, the server just doesn't like having user-inputted variables. But anyways, let's have a quick look at the skins. We've got Cleavage Sona up for show, Australian Graves. I have to admit, Team Mega Shop have the slightly sexier skins, I have to admit.
And 4 out of 5 as opposed to 3 out of 5. XPK really letting us down there with no new legendary Galio skin.
Not cool, dude. Not cool. I just want to throw out as well, I've seen a whole bunch of guys asking about Melisan. Where is Melisan? What's up with Melisan? Melisan is unable to play the qualifiers or Dreamhack due to some real-life commitments. I'm not certain what the cause is, but during the interim, Logic's Fairlocks has actually been drafted, so he is the official Fnatic 6th. If you head over to Fnatic.com, you can see the news post and the news announcements, and he'll be following them. If Fnatic qualify for Dreamhack, he'll actually be attending the LAN with them as well. So Fnatic on the left-hand side, facing off against Team Mega Shock on the right-hand side. I want predictions. Best of 1. Loser goes out. Chat, who is going to win this game? And you know what I like to see? Boots pots across the board. It has been for most of today. Very rarely have we seen other items being picked up. But Lamia, he's confident. He's gone Doran's Blade.
Yeah, that is definitely a sign of confidence. Of course, he has a, support that can heal him a little bit in lane. Sona doesn't have the greatest sustain, but pretty confident, and I expect them to be bullies. If you're going to go with that Doran's Blade, no reason not to bully the opposition. Hope to get a little bit ahead. But that being said, if they do get poked out by a couple of those volleys, it's possible it could set him behind, waiting for that Sona to get a couple levels and heal him up. So a very standard start. Everyone kind of patient. Everyone, just back and hanging around. Actually, Galio went back to town. Uncertain why. Didn't pick up an extra potion. Thought he might be going for the 4th potion, but does not.
And having a quick look at the minute, this is the round of 8, guys. So we're down to the quarterfinals. The winner of this game is going to qualify for the semifinals, and whoever wins the semifinals is going to qualify for Sunday's event, which is the real one. It's the one. It's only Sunday's games that actually get you a spot. Oops, sorry about that. It's only Sunday's games that actually get you a spot at Dreamhack. So there's a lot to play for, Don't forget, of course, this is the Dreamhack Beat It MSI-sponsored tournament. Steel Series are in there as well, and they're playing for a spot at Dreamhack Summer in June. So big props to the sponsors and the guys who are putting the event together.
Indeed. It is good to be a part of it. So we are going to see Vlad versus Rumble top, which I generally would favor Rumble in, and Talon versus Galio mid, and I mean, the chat was pretty much against this. They're like, oh my goodness, Talon can't do anything to him. But I think it might be a little more in Talon's favor than people expect. We shall see as the battle goes on. Certainly, Team Mega Shock had something in mind. Probably not too surprised by a Galio pick, and they really wanted to get Talon into play. And
look at the stats on Talon at the moment. 41 armor, 50 magic resist, and 75 attack damage. So his rune page is mostly flat AD and then defensive stats as well. It looks like flat MR as opposed to MR per level, but we'll just have to see as he starts leveling up what that actually turns out to. But look at the damage he's already putting out into XPK.
Right, and yeah, Rake does decent amounts of damage early, and a lot of AP champions, people don't really realize this, but for the first couple levels, they don't do a ton of damage. Up top, we do see Nocturne going in on Rumble. It looks like he might be in trouble. If this Fear puts him the wrong way, oh my goodness, it actually only put him kind of backwards. Suche was lucky, did get to continue running a little bit towards his tower, even though feared. So he is going to get away, but does not have flash now, and that's kind of the little head start that Vladimir needed. Otherwise, that lane would have been really unpleasant for him.
I like to see that as well. The pressure from Nocturne, he got level 3 incredibly quickly. I mean, he was up there at that gank around about the 3-minute 20 mark, and he had level 3 and double buff. So Nocturne Goats is looking very, very scary. 16 plus 10% armor pen, 0.73 attack speed, 700 hit points as well, and then armor. So that looks like an AD a little bit of a pen, a little bit of HP, a little bit of everything on that rune page, and it obviously appears to be working.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think the standard build for him is, you know, get up to 13 or so armor pen, then go attack speed so you can proc his passive more. He might have gone more attack damage, though, and he's kind of setting up for middle, is just going to head on back. Although Cowtard being ganked here, and Nocturne is around, so this could be a good counter jank. We will see.
Potential for first blood. Cowtard is very, very low. The fear proc does not go XPK's favor. Is Cyanide going to be able to pick up a kill? One more Vorpal Blade. He lands the taunt. There goes first blade. First blood, rather, not first blade. Cyanide is hanging around, but he's got no mana for the Righteous Gust. He's got no mana for the Resolute Smite. Cyanide just manages to get that dash up at the very last second.
And I thought he was still going to be in range for that fear. That was incredibly fortunate for them. I'm not going to say lucky, because it was mainly a factor of skill. And Nocturne, it was lucky that Nocturne was around, but just were not able to pick up the kill. Good flash time by XPK. Talon wanted to get in there, get that first blood, but it just put him out of position. And previously, before that all happened, really Talon had the advantage in lane by a wide margin. Not necessarily farming, he was a little bit ahead in farming, but XPK was out of mana and at about a third life before that gank came in.
Also, I just got to remember, technically speaking, it's XPK. Technically the way it's meant to be pronounced. My girlfriend's Spanish and she yells at me all the time when I mess it up, so sorry, babe. But anyways...
Actually, I knew that, but I still mispronounce it. It's just really hard because the different vowels in different languages are...
Exactly. I can't speak my form of English. I don't want to say it is English because it's a hybrid breed of the language, but it just doesn't fit Peke. It doesn't roll off the tongue easily in the middle of a fight.
I actually don't know. Where are you from?
Originally South Africa, actually. But I do have British parents, hence the slight British tones in the language.
Yeah, I have the same problem with the German E, like in Anka. I can't pronounce that either. So I'm told that it's not. I always say it wrong, but I don't exactly know how I'm saying it wrong, and therefore cannot correct it. So yeah, thanks to that middle gank, you know, Talon's having a lot harder time now against Xpeka, and you know, the farm is still even. Meanwhile, bottom lane, I saw, you know, oh wow.
Huge damage in the middle lane. Now there's pressure in the top lane as well. Shushay does get caught by the Dustbringer. Shen is close, but there's no Stand United. He's not going to be able to get in range. One last auto attack from Vlad is all that was needed to pick it up. And look at the damage coming out from Xpeke. These guys are going to move in. He does land the Idol of Durant. It's going to pop. He needs the silence to end, and one more air grenade does close off the kill. So Chalice of Harmony giving him all the mana he needs to spam those abilities and keep Cowtard under control.
Really, yeah, and that ultimate, lots of damage, was able to just poke Talon down, and really didn't miss any of his skill shots, you know, for the past, I don't know, good couple of minutes, which meant that he was able to just chunk down that Talon, and really, I feel like Talon had an early advantage there, but after that gank, as, you know, often happens, lost the advantage. Down bottom, 62 CS to 48 for Ashe, and Ashe is going back as well, so Graves will probably be able to extend that lead. So that Doran's Blade actually has been really helping him out, helping him maintain and keep a lead. Meanwhile, though, blue buff stolen from Fnatic, and Cyanide comes in and is a very sad ninja. He's like, oh my gosh, where is my blue buff? They're pinging down. They're like, Nocturne must be around here. Well, if they do keep that blue buff from Galio, he becomes significantly less potent. Yeah, of course he does have Chalice of Harmony, has actually rushed a Chainmail Vest, so he's, you know, pretty set in lane. But without that blue buff, he's not going to be able to spam those spells as much as he wants, and Talon may be able to survive through the harass and, you know, perhaps whittle him down.
Something that I want to point out, look at the ward coverage on behalf of Team Megashock. One ward at the top, they got one ward at Fnatic's blue, they've got one near the Red Bush River entry, and then another one at Dragon. In comparison, Fnatic only have sort of the required wards, you know, the bare bone minimum. And it's brilliant ward coverage on behalf of Megashock, really being able to control the lane or control their vision of the map. Now, we do have a ward coming up from Fnatic on Megashock's blue buff, and I don't know if they're going to be setting up trying to steal or something along those lines. Yeah,
they do have the Ash Arrow, or not the Ash Arrow, the Little Hawk flying from Hawkshot towards that blue buff. Make sure it wasn't being countered already. But yeah, that's something you definitely have to... Oh my goodness, the flash from Cyanide, just not far enough. I think he was trying to flash over the wall to then taunt and then steal it. Did not get close enough to smite steal it, and so Talon has that blue buff. Well, certainly when you counter the opposition's blue buff, know that they really want to take your blue buff in return, so secure it ASAP. They do secure it there, but it was quite dangerous. That being said, they got a free flash out of Shen, which is kind of a big deal.
I'm very nervous for Xpeke now in the middle lane because of the fact Counterhard has that blue buff. He can spam Rake all day long. He can keep using that noxious diplomacy. He is leveling. We had Paranoia happening on the bottom lane. The crescendo goes out and it completely locks up Ashe and Janna. So that was a very, very good crescendo from Fairlocks, saving both himself and Lamia in the process. Flash is used by Shushay in the top lane as well as Stand United. Shushay does land the equalizer out onto, is that El Mupo? But unfortunately, taking so much damage in the process, he can't commit to any longer fights.
Yeah, he was actually very low before that. Vladimir really kind of pushing him around in lane. He's only 7 CS ahead, but, you know, once Vladimir gets to this point, level 8, level 9, has that, you know, revolver probably going towards that Woda, he just gets incredibly dangerous in the laning portion of the game. So Rumble's going to have some issues. Of course, I thought Rumble would be able to, you know, withstand a little bit better, but did get that early gank, really put him on his hind heels.
The thing that I find interesting about the way Shushay plays Rumble as well, when we watched him play against Absolute Legends, he opted to go for a blasting one first, which is very, very, you know, it's interesting, it's fine. He was taking a lot of pressure. Now we do have a dive going on in the middle lane here, just the one auto attack going out. But he took quite a lot of damage from Renekton and didn't opt to go for the Hex deck. And now we see Shushay pushing forward. He doesn't have Equalizer available though, so no Equalizer. But if he's going to opt to move forward, does he have it? The Electro Harpoon misses. El Mupo just gets out of range. But Shushay builds. He doesn't build standard. He doesn't get that life steal. He's opted to go for the Soul Shoes and now for the Amplifying Tome. So he's going for that, you know, a little bit of movement speed as well as trying to mitigate some of El Mupo's magic resist. But it's interesting, you know.
I was thinking we might see a Galio teleport bottom, but Sona's not around. But now they really have some good global presence. Shen's ultimate is down. Top lane Nocturne just taking out Shushay on his own. Man, underestimating Nocturne, and I see a lot of people do that. I often underestimate him. But yeah, Nocturne, very, very good duelist, as he proved there. You know, picked up 2 Orange Blades, so not going for that early Madrid's Razor. You know, interesting. That is a pretty common build now on Lee Sin and Nocturne, but yeah, not necessarily standard. Galio, meanwhile, rushing that Glacial Shroud, kind of, you know, interesting item builds. Everyone kind of changing it up, being very versatile with their item builds, you know, to kind of go against their competition. Although, the one person that hasn't really changed anything is Talon. Talon just going Doran's Blades. We're going to see what his next buy is here. He has quite a bit of gold, 1,400 gold, in fact. Is, you know, basically holding even with Galio in farm.
Could possibly end up going for like a Brutalizer or something similar and increases the damage you can deal significantly. He currently has 6 and then 10% armor pen, so he may need just a little bit of more armor penetration to really get through that chain vest that Galio's already built up. I do want to just give a quick update about the rest of the quarterfinals. The admins have just got back to me, so Somi and Scarf, those are your admins for today. Give those guys mad props. They're running a very, very good tournament. And while I say that, Equalizer goes out. It does deal the initial damage to El Mupo, but he's able to move straight away from him. But look at the damage coming out from one single transfusion. If the taunt can come through, there's the taunt from El Mupo. Shushay should be able to finish it off. One more hit. Finally picks it up with that last tick of Flame Spitter. So the way that the quarterfinals are playing out, Na'Vi are facing off against Frag Zoned. SK are currently playing Eclipsia. Teamless have just defeated Against All Authority. So Against All Authority are out and they do not qualify for Sunday's tournament. Teamless are into the semi-finals and they stand a chance to win a position at Dreamhack Summer.
And you were right with that Brutalizer call on Talon. Did pick that up. It was doing pretty good damage to Galio as well. Blue buff is back up, so they definitely want to be over there to kind of make sure that it actually goes to Galio this time. Galio taking the really long route around, picking up wolves on his way. It was very interesting top line to see Shen, you know, just stand on by. They essentially knew Vladimir wasn't going to get away, but, you know, Shen decided that the kill should go to Shushay, and it should. And Shushay this time, you were commenting, didn't build any sustain last time, and I actually don't think that's a bad idea. Is building sustain this time, which I think is a good idea. But in general, you know, if you rush Rylai's, for instance, on Rumble, that is a very decent choice. He has very good AP ratios, surprisingly good AP ratios. So, I mean, that's something, you know, you can certainly rush instead of getting that sustain, which you don't always need. Down bottom, a Crescendo. Oh, and collateral damage so much. That little ignite to finish Jan off. But yeah, as we were saying,
damage being returned onto Felox, though. Etnex is pushing forward, applying a lot of damage with that double Dorans and Berserker's Greaves. Talon's now moving down towards the bottom lane as well, but he's going to fall back. And look at Cyanide. He's got the Oracle's Elixir Potion ready, but he hasn't drank it just yet. Pressure on the top lane, and Shushe is going to be going for the fight. He needed to stay for one more tick. The Equalizer picks it up. Shushe, I apologize for doubting you. I never meant to doubt the Equalizer. That was really well played on the run back. And it managed to use it to secure the kill.
Uh-oh, down bottom, Idol Duran going on Ashe. That will be a kill on Ashe. So we saw Talon and Nocturne kind of setting up for bottom lane, but it ends up being Galio who teleports in there, picks up that kill. Ashe, you know, kind of in an unfortunate circumstance where she didn't have Janna support there, so was in a very dangerous position. Probably felt a little bit comforted by the fact that Nocturne and Talon were close, but obviously neither of them, well, Nocturne does have a mini teleport, but Talon obviously couldn't get down there instantaneously.
Just rewinded. We've seen XPK. He come in from the top bush, so Etnex had no vision, had no idea what was happening, and there was nothing he could have done against that gank. Great coordination from Fnatic, and that gives them a 2,000 gold lead.
Yeah, although it looks like Mega Shock here is going to be able just to take this dragon. There is a pink ward down, no ward coverage for Fnatic. A little bit of a mistake on their part here, and this should be done before anyone pays it any mind. Yes, it is down, so that just about evens it up. It is a 1.2k lead still in Fnatic's favor, but that is not a huge lead considering they have 4 kills.
Well, not too bad at all. So well played by Team Mega Shock, noticing that Fnatic had fallen back and not pushed for the dragon, so they took it instead.
Yeah, and the other thing to note is, I mean, obviously I love Oracle pickups. That's a good pickup by Cyanide. But one reason why you pick up an early Oracle is so you have Dragon control. And now, obviously, you know, Baron isn't quite yet in play. They don't really have a great Baroning team, do Fnatic. So that Oracle is kind of going to waste for its main primary purpose of controlling objectives. Obviously, still very useful just for clearing out wards around the map. We do see Nocturne positioning for an ultimate here. Suche, definitely doesn't know what's happening, but is, you know, acting like he knows it's happening, and that's going to force Nocturne just to kind of run away.
Another thing to point out, keep a close eye on the farm. Mid lane, 177 CS Galio to a 125 CS Talon. You can definitely see XPK has been practicing this giant gargoyle. Is farming very, very well. Is even stealing the raids. Going to have to throw one more of those Resolute Smites, or the air grenade as I like to call it. And he steals the raid camp. Now he's moving up to the top lane. I don't know if Shushe knows that Nocturne's here. Galio is close, but Talon's moving up. Here comes Stand United from Shen. XPK's moving forward. If he can get a good Idol of Duran, this is going to be the key. He manages to capture both. Shen is available. Shushe is available as well. Equalizer still is available for cooldown. Finally gets thrown. Paranoia gets dropped out. A flash from Goat. Shushe is moving forward, and the Righteous Gust is going to be enough to pick it up. Now, Kautold is the one that's in trouble. There's a big wave pushing under this tower, and Fnatic have the damage to kill him.
Yeah, but they don't have any of their ultimates up. I don't think they're going to go in for this kill here. He actually just uses his ultimate to clear out the minions there. Probably a good choice because he just did a little bit too little damage. And everything going well for Fnatic down here. Pushing bottom lane out of the area there. Going to do some damage to that turret. Ashe has to go back. So everything going pretty splendidly for them. Really kind of, I don't know if it was a mistake, but Couchard saw that there was a gank going up top. Probably saw that Shen ultimate going in. And then turned around and went back to middle for whatever reason. Obviously if it headed up there, might have turned out differently, but might not have as well.
Well, let's take a look in that bottom lane. Collateral damage had been used, as did Ignite and Crescendo from Felox and Lamia. So we can definitely see they did try to put some damage onto Etnex and Steve, but no Crystalline Arrow. Monsoon was all that was blown from Steve, and it was able to at least save Etnex's life, but it did not save the tower.
Right, and it didn't save the farm either. So, I mean, it doesn't always matter. Even if you don't get kills, you can still go in there, you know, deny people a farm and go from there. Meanwhile, Expected taking quite a bit of damage from Talon middle, but does have 2 levels. Obviously, that huge farm that you mentioned earlier. And that's, I mean, yes, it's a function of, you know, getting all the creeps in your lane, but it's also a function of, you know, going down, taking wolves, taking taking Rays and so on and so forth. And that being said, you know, an incredible amount of farm, although a lot of those minions that they kill are not necessarily as worthwhile. The Wraith Camp, for instance, probably not actually worth 4 minions. I think it's like, what, 35? I mean,
it'll be 20 gold less, because the big one gives you around 40 gold, and you get, I think, 4 or 5
right.
for the smaller one. So if you average 20 to 23 CS for a normal creep, 4 of them would give you 80 gold, but the creep camp will only give you around 60 in the Wraith Camp, give or take.
Yeah. That being said, though, I mean, Galio, tons of gold. 7,100 gold right now to Talon's 5,200, so 1,900 gold just there in the lead. Obviously, Fnatic, a little bit of an advantage gold-wise, 3.4k, has that turret down. Did lose Dragon, but are also up 6 kills. I mean, up until that tower taking, and until, you know, Galio really established himself mid lane here, the gold difference was very, very less significant.
I like what Galio's building as well. Xpeke, he's finished his Abyssal Scepter. He's got the Chalice of Harmony, has had the Chalice of Harmony for a while, and he's built a Glacial Shroud. Now, I like that against Talon, against Nocturne, against Ashe, who are going to be the constant DPS, and the burst that's going to be coming out from Talon, so that gets countered by the armor. That's going to eventually be built into a Frozen Heart, which is going to debuff all 3 of those champions. It gives mana, it gives cooldown reduction. Combine that with the magic resist items that Galio builds normally in the forms of his Abyssal Scepter and what looks like Mercury Treads. It's a very tanky, but also a very DPS Galio. Athene's and Holy Grail is going to give him magic. It's going to give him some more cooldown reduction. And I really like the way that he's building his champion at the moment. Graves as well, Lamia, he's gone for Bloodthirster as opposed to the Infinity Edge. That's a little bit out of the norm.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, it certainly helps out early game. It's just not quite as strong as the game goes on, in my opinion. I really like having that Infinity Edge. That being said, they pick up a kill there on Nocturne, use Idol of Durand, and collateral damage. Graves does not have to blow Ignite, though. They were pretty certain that they were going to secure that kill, so they secure the kill and get a tower. Pretty good exchange for them, seeing as how they gave up nothing for it. And I often see Galio's build that Glacial Shroud into a Frozen Heart, but normally it's later on in the build. All he did here is rush it earlier on, which is a good choice. I also see them pick up Aegis. I think last game, oh wow, that crescendo barely landing a tip.
Really good crescendo.
Buckshot, too much damage on Janna. Janna, kind of squishy. I mean, once you catch her, she is squishy. She does have a lot of escapability, but, you know, squishy there, and, you know, Fnatic really starting to take control of this game.
Something I'd like to point out as well, I just took a look at Shushe's skill order, and he's opted to go 5 points into Flame Splitter, 5 points into Electro Harpoon. The majority of Rumbles and IC, they do tend to put 5 points into that Scrap Heap Shield, or Scrap Shield rather, because of course it gives you a higher movement speed buff, it gives you a higher shield value, and that obviously just means you can survive better in those duels. But Shushe really wanted the damage, you know, hitting 230 odd damage per missile, and it slows 30% per missile, and it does stack as well. So just interesting, something to point out and to consider.
Oh my goodness, this could be a really mean teleport into Idol of Durand here.
We're going to have to see whether or not that comes off. There goes the ultimate from Talon. He manages to catch a few. Xpeke does not have flash available, so he did have flash, but opting not to flash into the middle of everybody, and I'm not quite sure why. They do exchange 1 for 1. Shushe goes down in return for Steve. Now look at Coutard. He's taken some damage in the background there. Xpeke was able to 1v1 Ashe. We should have kept a closer eye on that one. But it's going to be moving up now. Idol of Durand has been used. Now they've turned around, so it's a 1 for 2 trade. But Mega Shock were able to collect the dragon, so they do technically still come off ahead in this exchange. A flash taunt comes out. That means Vladimir just gets instantly blown up.
That was unfortunate. He used his pool, but he actually did not evade the slow from Galio, which meant he was slowed, and that really gave Cyanide the opportunity to jump on in there with that taunt, pick up the kill. Actually, I don't know that he did pick up the kill, but he ensured the kill.
So Talon at the moment sitting, he's got a BF Sword, Merc Trades completed, and the Brutalizer. Is recalling back now, sitting on 750 gold, over 100 CS, no, just shy of 100 CS behind Xpeke in the mid lane. And that's at the 23-minute mark. 300 creeps nearly at 23.5 minutes time.
And I have to say, all of this kind of happened. I mean, obviously Xpeke, really great player, and I mean, this could have happened either way, but Talon was winning the lane early. Shen comes in for that early gank. It turns into a 2-on-2. And they pick up the first blood, and that just really changed the lane complexion around. I would have been really intrigued to see how it would have turned out had they not picked up that early kill. Had Talon picked up that early kill, I imagine it would have steamrolled in his favor. That being said, Galio, proving his worth even as a counter to these AD assassin champions. Really good showing. Another really high farm showing. Not quite as high as last game, but yeah, Galio, champion of farm.
I like to see the champions at the moment as well. Now, Galio is committing to this. He pops it. Collateral damage comes out from Kautai, and I think if one more ability had landed, it may have been enough to actually pick up that kill. Shen, currently sitting 2-0-4. That Oracle's Elixir that he picked up around about the 12 or 13 minute mark is still sitting on his face. He still has that pink eye and is busy clearing out wards. Even picking up pink wards as well. He stuck one down by the Baron pit. Cleared out that Baron ward from earlier. Yeah,
and I said, oh man, he's not going to be able to control objectives. And actually, Team Megashop has been doing a really good job of keeping control of that dragon despite the fact that they're losing. And despite the fact that they don't have an Oracles and Cyanide does. But that Oracle is definitely paying itself off in worth. And man, now Galio, level 18, talent level 14. That is just crazy.
And what I like about the build or the stats at the moment, take a look at Lamia. 500, 225 CS, 30 ahead of Ashe. Has got Zeal completed, Last Whisperer, and a fully stacked Bloodthirster as well. Ashe only sitting on an Infinity Edge and an attack speed dagger.
Yeah, I mean, I like Ashe's late game build better, but an early Last Whisper on Graves, I'm not sure how necessary it is, seeing as how there's very little damage on the opposition, or armor on the opposition, but that probably means that his skills are just going to be doing that much more damage. Buckshot and Collateral going to be able to hurt everyone regardless of whether or not they build that armor.
I just found out as well, guys, admin announcements has come through right now. Eclipsia have defeated SK Gaming. While I'm saying that, Shushe gets immediately blown up from all the damage from Talon. The Ashe Arrow, now a great Idol of Duran, catches all 5 members of Mega Shock. That blows up. Ashe is the first to fall, followed quickly by Talon. Now Galio is the next one to fall. In the background, Nocturne goes down as well. So it's a 2-for-3 trade. Lamia's going to be able to pick this turret up as well. 2-for-3 and the interior turret. Fnatic with a great team fight. SK Gaming do not qualify for Dreamhack, ladies and gentlemen. Eclipsia have taken them out of the tournament.
Man, that is big news. Very big, surprising news. Man, but that fight was crazy. Sushi goes down immediately, doesn't use Equalizer or his Ignite or his Flash or anything. But the fight still turns around, and on top of the turret, Fnatic's able to take it 3-for-2.
I also have just found out as well, thank you very much for the update, Panky. IPL have just announced who their casters are going to be for the IPL qualifiers, and myself and Studio are going to be the official European shoutcasters for the remainder of the qualifiers. So I hope you guys enjoy my casting and streaming, because I'm going to be doing IPL 5.
They're going to get more of you no matter what.
Exactly. So I'm really stoked and happy about that. So, yes, awesome. Anyways, back to this game right now. Fnatic, 6,500 gold ahead. Looking like they're in control of the game. They have 4 turrets to 0. And Mega Shock looks like they're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, they are in a world of trouble. If that last team fight is any indication, they don't have much of a chance in these team fights. Expect an amazing ultimate. And, I've always been impressed by Expecta's, play as just about any champion, but in particular as Morgana. And so he has had a lot of experience in properly landing AoE ultimates, and that certainly helps, while playing Galio.
I'm quite happy to see him playing Galio as well, because Galio is such a powerful champion, and I haven't seen Expecta play too many champions at top levels. He did tend to get stuck in a couple of his favored champions or favored roles, and the outstanding performance that we've seen when he played Twisted Fate, and now followed up by this performance as Galio, he's showing he's not a one-trick pony. He's showing he can play a range of champions in the game and play them well. Something to point out, Shen died in that previous fight, so he did lose his Oracle's Elixir, but at this stage in the game, so far ahead in gold, it's not really the end of the world.
not the end of the world. Team Megashock taking another dragon. That is 3 for 3 in dragons. That could be the comeback dragon. You never know. You never know. Meanwhile, Shen pushing down top. They're going to try to take this top turret. Galio and Shen, not the best, not the best people to be pushing down lanes, but they can clear waves of minions really, really fast. So that has been their plan, and that's kind of what Xpeka did last game as well. I saw him actually, or was that a game we were casting and not just watching? I remember there was a Galio pushing bottom lane and teleporting into a Baron to great effect.
That was previous game. That was the previous game that we watched, yeah.
Okay, so
it was because Nocturne didn't clear out the ward.
Right.
Yes, so that's how it is right now. Look at the pressure coming out. Kautot is going to pop that damage down. Maybe pushing forward. He does get blown up. Idol of Durant comes out from Xpeka and casts his curse after we sing his praises. He doesn't catch a single member of Megashock. Ash goes down in the background, and now Xpeka has turned his attention to Steve. And Steve goes down. If anybody has watched Flight of the Conchords, Steve is, of course, a very, very anti-rap person. Did Steve tell you that? What's Steve got to do with it? Anyways, here's the rhinoceros versus the hip-hop-opotamus. Anyways, that's a very good fight for Fnatic. This should result in an inhibitor.
Cyanide does not want to give up turret. I think he was afraid that it might go on to Sona and kill Sona, but they do get that turret. Cyanide remains alive this time, as opposed to the last fight where he kind of slowly died, losing that Oracle. But yeah, just another good fight. And now in that fight they proved, hey, we don't even need Galio's ultimate. Man, Lamia doing so much damage, now 9-0. Going to build that Infinity Edge next. It looks like has the components building up to that. Going to skip out of the Phantom Dancer for the time being. It appears, yes, that is the Infinity Edge.
Is Shen building towards a Madrid's Razor? Madrid's Blood? No. What's the Claw?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it is, yeah, I forget the exact name, but yeah, Madrid's Blood Razor, or the Madrid's...
Something like that. That thing that Warwick always builds. So,
right.
very, very
that
aggressive
Warwick
build.
used to build.
Yeah, old school Warwick. So at the minute, Fnatic looking like they're going to qualify for the semi-finals. Don't forget that there is still one more game after this that needs to be won. The winner of the next game qualifies for Sunday, and only there can you actually earn a spot for the Dreamhack qualifiers. Don't forget, I believe the tournament name is the Dreamhack Beat It tournament, sponsored by SteelSeries and MSI. Be sure to give them some love, throw them some props, and say thank you for getting them to host competitions like this.
Absolutely. I actually used to have a lot of friends that would go Shen and build that Blood Razor. I guess that people feel like if you're just going to build one offensive item, that one's a good one to build. That being said, I think we saw Darian build Trinity Force on him, which is kind of unusual because, of course, you don't need that mana, but I think that's also a good item to pick up. If you just have one item, which one should it be?
What I like about the Trinity Force, look at the aggression from Xpeka. He manages to just catch Vladimir at the end of that taunt. I think Fnatic feel like they're so far ahead they can just commit to these fights at the moment. Shushay playing a very, very good distraction role right there. He does go down in the background, but it means that Talon is blown up. And it allows Graves to stay alive in the backline, so if they decide to push for this tower, they will be able to do so. Team Megashock are going to have to defend that bottom lane at some point, and that's when they'll be able to pick off this mid lane kill. I quite like Trinity Force on Shen because the movement speed, the attack speed, and all that. The proc is also very, very nice. The cooldowns on Shen's abilities are fairly high, but getting the Key Strike proc in conjunction with a Sheen proc on your auto attacks, it gives you pretty nice burst damage. It catches you off guard.
Yeah, and they're just trying to push down this turret even without minions present. Ash had to go back to push down the other wave. So this is going to be a free middle turret. Yeah, they're just keeping up the aggression, despite the fact that at this moment they're not incredibly strong. They don't have collateral damage, they don't have Rumble there, obviously, they don't have Idol Duran, they don't have Shen's ultimate, they don't really have any of their ultimates. Now, of course, on the other side of the coin, neither does Team Megashock, but Talon is back up, but now they have another naked inhibitor. Really unfortunate for them. That fight went 1-for-1, and at the end of the fight, Team Megashock was actually healthier than Fnatic, but because Fnatic is confident in their position right now, confident in their lead, they just kept on pushing down, despite the fact that their advantage might not have been huge.
Take a look at the gold graph. Take a look at the gold. Talking about advantages, talking about numbers. Galio and Graves, 13,500. 3,500 gold above the highest member of Megashock. close to 4,000 above their respective counterparts in lane.
And we actually see a very evenly distributed number of deaths there for Team Mega Shock. 1-4, 1-4, 1-3, 1-5, 3-5. So after this game, at least they probably won't have, one single person to blame. Basically every single lane went pretty terribly. Not terribly, but it went poorly. They lost every single lane by a decent margin.
Yeah, the only player for Team Fnatic that was, shall we say, picked on has been Shushay. But he has, in these big team fights, he has been either blown up first or he's been running interference, so you can't really blame him for going down. And we do have a Baron going down. Baron is picked up by Fnatic. Shushay is overheated, so he's not going to be able to put that equalizer down, and Xpeke does have Flash available. No, it's not. Flash is not available, I lie to you. Is he going to move on? There goes the equalizer. The split comes out from Mega Shock, and now they're going to be committing to this fight. Fnatic are completely split apart, but Ashe is the first one to fall. If Mega Shock can get a good focus, they might have been able to turn that away, but unfortunately, the Idol of Durand is just too strong. The shield from Cyanide as well saves his life, and you can't be focusing Cyanide down in these fights. You really need to jump onto Lamia, which they did try to do, but of course Xpeke throws up that Idol of Durand, pulls the carries away, saves Graves, and in turn wins his team the game.
Yeah, well the thing is, even despite the fact that Talon was incredibly underfed, 1-6, didn't have very much under his belt, and Graves was incredibly fed. The nature of, an AD carries build going all, essentially all offensive items meant that in that last team fight, Lamia was very, very, very close to being dead. In fact, I guess I can rewind it and check out how close it was. In fact, perhaps, if I don't get this victory screen. We'll see.
Well, let's do a review of that final fight then, since we want to.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, there we go. It just pulled me backwards. Where is this final fight coming up? There we go. So here comes the fight. We'll watch this in slow-mo. There goes the Paranoia. The dive from Kaltard comes out, and the Sanguine pull from El Mupo. You see Ashe goes down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Phaelox is used Crescendo, but not gone down. Stand United was actually used to save Sona in that fight, and Lamia just immediately blows up Talon. Nocturne and Vlad get locked up, compliments of Idol of Durand. And then all of a sudden Lamia turns. Keep an eye on his hit points and just how quickly it goes up. One crit, one crit, one crit. Lamia down to less than 100 health. And eventually just more than enough power to win out the game. So congratulations to Fnatic. They qualify for the semi-finals. There is the final score screen. I'd like to have a look at the damage graphs. I love looking at these damage graphs.
I'm always skeptical of the damage graphs because I still, replay minion damage, right?
Yes, they do. They do count minion damage.
Right.
But it tells a very telling story. Go look at Galio and Graves' damage graphs on this thing. It is huge, 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 huge. So, guys, Fnatic have qualified. We're going to have one more game to go. So, Zote, anything to add before we hit the music?
No, not really. Although I did want to say, Graves, getting out by only 60 light hit points at the end. Talon almost able to take him down, despite the fact that he had very few items. Good game overall. Was exciting to watch. Fnatic, stellar play.